In this video, we'll look at the syntax for multi-dimensional arrays in C++. We'll focus on two-dimensional arrays, but you can use as many dimensions as are supported by your system. While there's no real limit to the number of dimensions you can have for arrays, be aware that some compilers do place limits on this, though the limits are quite high and you're unlikely to reach them. The syntax for declaring multi-dimensional arrays just involves adding another set of square brackets with the new dimension inside them. In this example, you can see we're declaring a two-dimensional array named movie rating. This array has 3 rows and 4 columns, which means that the total size of the array is 12 integers. We have not initialized this array, so we should assume that the array elements contain garbage data until initialized. Let's see how we might model real-world data using this 2D array. Suppose we want to collect movie ratings. We have movie reviewers, and each reviews a series of movies with an integer rating from 0 to 5. We have 3 reviewers, and each has to review the same 4 movies. We could choose to model this data by having one array of movie ratings for each reviewer. So we could declare 3 arrays of 4 integers each and solve our problem like that. Another option is to use a two-dimensional array. The first dimension, or row in our grid, is the reviewer, and there would be 4 columns in the grid, one for each movie. This is similar to the layout of a spreadsheet. In the figure, the reviewer is the first index or row of our array labeled in red, and the movie is the second index or column of our array labeled in green. Now it's pretty easy to go to a specific row and column and get or set that movie rating for that specific reviewer and that specific movie. Accessing the specific movie rating is easy. I can ask the user to enter a movie rating as an integer and store it in movie rating sub1 sub2. Suppose the user enters 5. This would update that specific element in the array. I can also display that element to the console using the same syntax. Initializing multi-dimensional arrays uses the same initializer list syntax that we saw with one-dimensional arrays. In this case, we provide in the initializer list the rows of columns. You could do this in a single line, but it's much more readable if you split it across lines as I've done here. You can see the initializer is providing 3 rows of 4 integers each, which is exactly how we declared the array. While one- and two-dimensional arrays are by far the most commonly used arrays in programming, extending the syntax to 3 dimensions and more is just as you would expect. Don't forget that the same characteristics hold for multi-dimensional arrays as for single-dimensional arrays. We'll see multi-dimensional arrays again when we talk about iteration in C++. So that's a look at C++ arrays. If you see them in existing code, you'll understand how they work, what they look like, and their syntax. Remember at the beginning of this section I mentioned that we rarely use C++ arrays in modern C++. Instead we use vectors. Let's take a quick look at C++ vectors.